Hey, there we
Hello,
go.
everyone.
Sorry about that. A few little technical difficulties getting on, but we finally got there in the end. Laura, well, welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. Do you want to share, Laura, with just basically about what is Real Talk all about?
Yeah, so this will be every 4 weeks, won't it? And last week we had Gateway Conversations with you and Rog. And then the week before we had a conversation with SLT, didn't we? So every 4 weeks we're going to be doing Real Talk. So this is just a place for us to be really real, honest and vulnerable about some topics that some people have already been commenting about some topics that they want us to cover. So today we're going to be talking about mental health, and we want to say that we're not experts in mental health, but that we both had experiences and struggles in the past with different aspects of mental health. So we want to use these videos just to be able to open up really and to share our experiences in the hopes that it will help you with some things that you may be going through. And we know that mental health is at an all-time high at the moment with what the world is currently going through. So we just hope to be able to share a little bit of our hearts, don't we, and be really honest. So I wanted to start by maybe sharing a little bit about my story, and then Daniel's going to share a little bit about his. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, our daughter had a dental procedure, and I didn't cope with it in the best way, and it led to really a downward spiral into some bad mental health. So I developed anxiety literally overnight, where and it was a slow process looking back now, but where I couldn't go out anywhere. I would wake up shaking in the night when I couldn't interact with other people. I just worried about everything all the time, and I was so anxious. And we had the kids were small at the time, weren't they? Talia was 7, and Sophie was probably about 3 or 4, and it was just probably the worst and actually the best time of my life when I look back, because I learned so much. And it did get to the point where my doctor wanted to medicate me on high dose sedatives and antidepressants, which I declined. And we're not against that. It's just that I knew that was my path for me. I knew that God had asked me not to do that, and to just walk with him through this. But we support those who feel like they need to do that. That was just my journey with it. And I slowly made my way through it over the next couple of years with the help of Daniel, and with the help of Pastor Wynell was my mentor at the time. She's now a really close friend, but she really helped me through it. My parents helped me through it. Even the children helped me through it. They helped to pull me through it. And of course, God helped me through it. But why don't you just share your experience?
Yeah, I mean, let me just first of all say I think that everyone, experiences some kind of mental health on, at one degree or another, whether you realize it or not. If you've ever worried, if you've ever struggled with bad thoughts, if you've ever, faced temptations, if you've ever doubted yourself, if you've ever felt a feeling of uncertainty about the future, then you've experienced mental health of some kind. So I do think that obviously there are different intensities in different seasons, but I think that is something that we all go through. But obviously there are particular seasons where it's more overwhelming. And I've had, a number of seasons, times in my life where I felt very overwhelmed. One of the areas that I think, I'm sure Laura would agree with this, is that one of my challenges is sometimes I'm a bit of a workaholic. Anyone else relate to that? I see a few of the names popping up here, and I'm sure there's some people amongst you who can say, yeah, that's me, I can relate to that as well. And I think sometimes I've been in these places where just trying to please everyone, falling into that trap of wanting to keep everyone happy, which is never possible. You're never going to please everyone. And during those seasons, it's been a challenge where it's affected my sleep, it's affected my thought life, it's affected decisions that I've made, it's affected my health. I know that when I went through a couple of particular extreme bouts where I would say did go through some depression. I used to get like really bad eczema on my hands. And so Laura would often be able to identify and be able to say, hey, what are you worrying about? I noticed that you're getting all that eczema on your hands again. So yeah, there's been, this has been something that we've battled with, and I don't think it's ever something that you can say like you've got it nailed and like you'll never experience it again, that you kind of got it perfectly sussed. I think we're all on that growing journey, but it's about learning different tools and techniques and strategies that we can implement to help us to overcome and to get through those times that we do go through those valleys.
Yeah, definitely. So we just wanted to share some things that we hope will be helpful to you, some things we've learned along the way. And we'd love it if you would interact with us in the chat. So maybe you can share some things that have helped you through or some difficult times. We just love you to chat in the chat, and we'll read out some comments in a little bit as well. So I think one of the best things for me is when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, and when I start to feel like the walls are closing in and things are just getting a bit too much, which has not been as easy during this season, is I like to get outdoors. So I'm not the kind of person that likes to be indoors all the time, and I like to get outdoors. And I often say we go down the beach, and I often say to you, don't know, this is my happy place. It's the place that makes me, I really feel refreshed and refueled when I go to the sea. There's something about the water and the sound of the waves and watching the kids play, and we just walk along, don't we? And there's just something about it that refuels me. It just makes me feel different. So that's where I go. It's a place where I go, where I know that after I come back, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel lifted. I'm going to feel lighter. And oftentimes, if I go with the girls by myself, the girls play, and I just take time to think through things and to kind of. Most of the time, I try and put things in perspective and things into place, and think, gosh, like maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, and talk things through with God. And it's just a time where I can really connect with God and my feelings and how I'm feeling, and come back, hopefully most of the time, feeling different. So is there a place that you go to or something that you do that helps you to feel like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going into the woods, going for nice walks where you're surrounded by a lot of green, I find just getting into a place where there's, some pure oxygen and you get into nature. I love going on runs, and I enjoy walking as well. But I'd probably say running is my default. I do like getting the bike out occasionally as well. But I find that that's really just helps me to switch off, and just to kind of almost like a decompression chamber, really. And it's amazing. I was, reading an article by a guy called Hal Seed, who's a pastor of a megachurch in the States, and he was talking about how that, often as preachers and pastors, we can kind of be on a high after a meeting, and then it's very easy to kind of come crashing down. And he was talking about how he's actually learnt different techniques, and one of the things he would say is that actually after the Sunday service, he used to go on a walk or a run, and it was just a way of kind of getting him to be in a more chilled state, and sort of releasing any stress that might be there, or sometimes disappointments as well. Kind of, you put so much heart and soul and energy and time in preparation and just loving on people and ministering, and sometimes there's elements that you think like maybe I didn't preach as well as I wanted, or maybe I didn't like see as many people there as I wanted to have seen there, and you can kind of feel a little bit disappointed. So anyway, I actually just, when I read that article, it's where it gave me the idea, and I thought, you know what, after Sunday services, I'm going to go for a run or walk each time. And it's made such a big difference. So definitely I like running along Langston shoreline, down the seafront, stunning view. I always have that sense of gratitude, awe and wonder, just looking over God's creation. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favourite places to go.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see if anyone else has said. So Bethany says she loves walking in the woods. A walk without her phone signal is definitely something I need sometimes. Definitely. Let's have I just saw one. So Dominic says, when I struggle with my work, I take a break and pray for God's guidance. It's disappeared. And next morning, creating something my animation software package, it suddenly feels easy, so it takes a break. That's good. I saw another one. So my mum, so she finds swimming helpful and she's looking forward to getting back to that soon. Have you seen a couple?
Yeah, and you see your dad saying being creative. These, I know, Paul, you enjoy doing your woodwork and practical stuff. We've got Sharon Wallen here watching people with their dogs. We enjoy a bit of people watching, don't we?
Yes,
It's just interesting, just kind of trying to speculate about what do you think's going on in that person's world right now.
We did commentaries in the car, didn't we? While people were running, we were in the car and people were doing their runs, and we were imagining what they were like and what they were thinking.
What do you think they do for a job? You know, sometimes just a bit of fun, just something to distract you. Well, we've got one from Jeremy here. Do you want to read out Jeremy's one?
So it says, stop, don't move, don't react, freeze, take a step back, take deep breaths, observe how you're feeling internally, sad, angry, externally, hot, sweaty, cold, proceed mindfully. That's good.
Very good. I really like that, Jeremy. Thanks for sharing that helpful tool.
My garage is my happy place.
And we've got another one here, Dominic.
Dominic says, when I struggle with we read that one already.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. A couple of other people said that the beach is their happy place too, that they like to go there.
Awesome.
Cool. So let's move on to something else. So what would you say is the thing that's helped you the most, like the top thing that you would recommend to people to do, to not just in the moment when they're feeling anxious, but as a whole on a journey of making our way through that and managing it and helping us to live a full life?
I think what's really helpful is awareness. So just stopping and, asking, what am I feeling right now? And sometimes, we're not always very good at this, particularly us men are not always great at kind of talking about emotions. They're there. We may not always identify them, but they are there. They're always there in one form or another. So I think being able to acknowledge, like, how am I feeling? Like, am I frustrated? Am I stressed? Am I worried about something? Am I feeling uncertain about the future? Once you're kind of aware of it, then you're sort of saying, okay, what sort of thoughts and feelings are attaching to that? So once you can kind of identify it, then you can kind of say, okay, well, look, what's the truth here, and what is, perhaps a lie here? Because not all of our thoughts are our own, and not all thoughts are reality. Just because we might think it or feel it doesn't necessarily make it true. And so I find it's really helpful just to kind of, evaluate where you're at, and then you start to, process it. And one of the things is, it sounds quite a bold thing to say, but taking responsibility for the thoughts that we cultivate in our mind. You guys, many of you that track with City Life have heard me say this before. You can't stop birds flying over your head, but you can stop them nesting there. So we can't necessarily always stop the thoughts that come into our minds, but we do have a choice about whether we choose to meditate on them, rest on them. And when we identify certain thoughts that are toxic, that are not healthy, maybe, I don't know, someone did us wrong, and we find this really, we keep repeating the offense and speculating about why they did such a certain thing. It's very easy to kind of, that becomes a runaway freight train. So we have to take responsibility for our own feeling, for our own thoughts, and say, no, I'm going to pull that down. And the Bible talks about, casting down imaginations and any high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So, I find it really helpful being aware, recognizing what the lies and truths are, and then obviously doing, pulling down those negative thoughts. What about you, Laura?
Yeah, that's good. I think that the one thing I'm not good at, and you're very good at, is this year you've made some real great changes to your health, and we would consider ourselves to be healthy eaters. But exercise for me is not something that I'm great at. And this year you've picked your exercise back up, haven't you? And you're really great, get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, you work out. But this is the one thing I struggle with, but I know it's the one thing that would help me a lot. So I think I'm correct in this. I think that when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol levels, which is the hormone that can make you feel stressed and anxious, is at its high when you wake up. It's at its peak. Someone can correct me if this is wrong, but that when you exercise, that helps to lower your cortisol levels.
Yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning, they say it's the first thing that you should do is to move, because it helps to lower your cortisol levels. And it sets you off for a really good day. So I'm really bad at this. And I tried really hard over the last year, haven't I, to get better. I'm not a good morning person. So, but I would say that those days where I've done that, I feel like great. I feel ready for the day. I definitely feel different on those days where I have done it. So I would say that looking after ourselves physically, we all know it's really important to exercise and to keep fit. But on a mental health side of things, I think that getting outside, walking, doing some exercise in the morning, if you're not like a cardio person, do some Pilates or something that's gonna stretch your body. I just think that it's one of those things that we all know is really good for us, but most of us, I think, struggle with being active and being fit. And I know there are some of the staff who have been trying to get fit, haven't they? And Mark's been doing some running. He's done that for Mind, hasn't he? Which is a really great cause. But that's one thing I'm bad at, and I would like to improve. I'd really like to get better at being number one, being a morning person, because I think waking up and starting your day in a really good way is great, but also exercising in the morning and getting myself going and waking up, I think, before the kids, so that I have my time and I've done my things before they get up. And then your day doesn't kind of start with resentment for others, because if you're a mum, everybody's asking you to do things for them, and you haven't really done anything for yourself yet. So I think we talked about physically looking after ourselves, but also we have to look after our own well-being in making sure that our needs are being met. It's not selfish. We have to make sure that we're refueling ourselves, our needs physically, but also emotionally, and getting those things that we need. And I think that for me, getting up early would be a good addition to that. So I know that I definitely need to be better at that. Maybe people can comment in the chat. Is exercise easy for you? Is it hard? Is it something that you'd like to be better at? I know that it's something I struggle with, and something that you've done really, really well on this year.
Well, I think, getting up early, exercising, things like this, having a time of solitude is golden. Like, it's one of the best things that you can do in the busyness of life and the world and all the distractions. And I think this is one of the secrets that Jesus had. Often it talks about in the Bible, Jesus withdrew to a solitary place, to pray, often before sunrise. So there's something about being on your own. And I know some people really struggle with that. And often that's a sign that is like something needs to change. There's something that needs to be healed up. We're encouraged to, as the greatest commandment, love, God, first of all, with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, but then love, equally love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there's got to be this self-love in a healthy way, not an arrogant, egotistical, I'm better than everyone else, but a healthy kind of love and peace that we have. So having that solitude where we can nurture ourselves, physically, spiritually, mentally, all of these things, I think that when you're growing, that often will tend to be when you feel most satisfied and content. But when you're not growing, when you're regressing, or you feel like you're regressing, or you're not really making any progress, that's often when it's very easy to kind of feel like, well, what's my purpose? Like, how am I growing? Like, what am I doing? But when you start early, I call it an early victory. So if you get up, you get out of the bed, in the morning, whatever time that might be for you, it might be getting up 10 minutes extra early. I mean, don't start off. I get up normally about 20 to 5 every morning. But for you, it might be like 10 minutes earlier. and just spending that time with God, spending that time, doing some exercise, listening to, a podcast that's going to, enrich your life, that's going to encourage you, not just dross. I would say this: don't wake up and listen to the news first thing, and don't wake up and just scroll through your social media feeds, because quite often that can set you off in a kind of a negative time where you see all the bad things that are happening in the news. And sometimes we can flip into that kind of comparison mode, can't we, where we look at everyone else's perfect lives, and they seem to have all these amazing things going on in their lives, and the reality is they're just giving you kind of a part of the picture, which is often edited, which is not fully true a lot of the time. And it's very easy for us to kind of compare and think, oh, my life's so not as good as so and so, they're having an amazing life and I'm not. And it can kind of affect us in a negative way going into our day. So make sure you're getting off in a positive way of starting your day.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the scrolling through Facebook and Instagram thing is definite no. Like, I definitely stopped doing that. And I used to spend we both used to spend a lot of time on social media, didn't we? But now we're much better. I think it's being disciplined about even like putting your phone across the other side of the room. We use it for our alarm, don't we? And most people do. But I think turn your alarm off, get back to whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. So I also think that, and I know that you wanted to comment on this too, about past hurts and things that we can carry. And I remember one of my favourite messages that I've ever preached is the Travel Light one, about unpacking the things from the past that hold us back, and that we're not supposed to carry baggage, but that we're supposed to kind of travel through life unpacking our suitcase, so that when we get to the end of our life, that we're much lighter, and that we're not carrying past hurts and things that people have done to us. So I think that if it's professional help, if it's counselling, if it's talking to a friend, if you're a Christian, and if it's getting ministry that you need to heal from past hurts, I just think that is so important. And I think that we can carry things and not know that we're carrying things. And there can be symptoms and we can feel the way we feel, but we don't really know what the root is. So I think that definitely finding out that and getting some help and trying to work our way through our past, so that we not even carrying out our future, because you can't kind of, you get stuck, can't you? And you can't kind of move forward until you deal with that.
Definitely, definitely processing those roots. Bitter roots produce bitter fruits, and so keeping short accounts, walking in forgiveness, walking in love continually. When we hold on to grudges, resentments, bitterness, anger, any of that stuff, it's like pouring gravel into the engine of your car, and it's going to really affect the speed. It's going to affect the efficiency. There's going to be a lot of kind of grinding, and you're not going to function, to the full capacity that you can, that you were designed to. When we forgive, when we walk in love, what we're actually doing, we're removing the gravel, and it's like going to the petrol station and getting the premium oil, pouring it into the engine, just the right amount. And everything's just able to flow and move so much easier and more efficiently. And so this is what it is when we walk in love, when we choose to forgive. And it just seems to kind of lift that kind of stress and anxiety off our lives. And life's too short to hold grudges. So I really want to encourage you, if there is, people, organizations, that have hurt you, just, process that in a healthy way and choose to let it go. And it'll be amazing the impact that can have on your mental health.
Yeah. And I think as well, not just hurts, but for a long time, I carried a lot of disappointment in myself, because I had let myself get to the point where, because I hadn't looked after myself, and I'd looked after the kids nonstop, and I hadn't taken time out for myself, and I hadn't eaten properly, and I wasn't sleeping well. I think I'd let myself get to the point where it was easy for me to slip into that, to anxiety and depression, because of how I treated myself. And I think for a long time I dealt with disappointment for myself. And I remember I used to, when I was crying and I would talk to you, I would say, like, this is not supposed to be my life. That was the one thing I said over and over again. This is not the way I'm supposed to be living. And I would feel so guilty that I was supposed to be living a full life, because that's what I'd been given and blessed with. But I was carrying so much with me and I was carrying so much disappointment for the way that I perceived that my life had turned out. And I didn't really, until I'd come halfway through it, I didn't really start to see the I guess the beauty in it that had come out of it, that it had drawn me so much closer to God. It had actually burned away some things that I was carrying before that I didn't need to carry, and all I could see was the destruction at the time, and I couldn't see that there was so much good in it as well. So I think that getting rid of disappointments, because I think carrying disappointment can make you physically sick. It can make you like in your mind as well, but also it can make you physically sick if you carry those kind of things. So I think dealing with our own disappointments, not just that other people have disappointed us, but that we're disappointed in ourselves because for the way things have turned out. But I think just working through it and making sure that we're not carrying those things, because it's not healthy.
Definitely. I think there's also an element of kind of wearing the realistic hat as well, that life has struggles. There's going to be loss, there's going to be pain, there's going to be persecution. Yeah. So sometimes we kind of almost look for the kind of perfect Hollywood life, that everything's perfect. And, you know, I remember someone saying this, you know, behind every mask, there is a drama. And I think if we're all honest, we all wear masks at times, you know, where we put our church smile on. But the reality is everyone's got stuff going on. And even those people that we think have these perfect little lives really don't. You know, everyone's got stuff going on. And so just having that reality of saying, well, yeah, okay, I'm going through some struggles, but it doesn't mean like that God's bad. It doesn't mean that I'm not growing. It doesn't mean that there's not some purpose in this. And just recognizing that whatever happens in life, I'm going to decide I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn. I'm going to trust in God, you know, through it all. And just having that change in mindset makes a big difference. I think as well, another thing is looking at what you put into your body as well. So even like your diet can affect your hormones. So if you're just feeding yourself with loads of junk food all the time, your hormones are going to be all over the show. Your internal chemistry is going to be messed up. And so sometimes what we're actually feeling is, because we've put all this junk in, it's messed with our chemistry. And so by making some simple dietary, and I actually believe that, you know, as I share this, I feel that for some of you, this is the source of, you know, a challenge, for, you know, some of the problems for you guys. So we want to encourage you, you know, look at what you're eating, look at, you know, what you know, diet you have, and make sure that you're stewarding your body well. And I'm not saying don't ever have any chocolate, or, you know, when we have our treat day, don't we? And sometimes there's more than one treat day in the week.
More than one treat in a day.
There is, and hey, we're far from perfect. Let me tell you, Easter, the diet and the eating plan went out the window. I ate way too much chocolate, so I'm now on a bit of a purge. I ate well today. I didn't have any chocolate today,
but I think that's a journey as well. Like over the last probably 4 years, we've been on a journey of researching health and what we eat and food, and I think it's just step by step making better choices and doing some Googling and do some research into nutrition and thinking what feeds my body, what's good for me, but also, like we said, allowing yourself to have treats, because we do have treats, but oftentimes we look for the better treat, don't we? The one that's not going to be and we're not on a diet, we just like to eat healthy, but it's just looking after your body, isn't it?
Definitely. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us this evening, or whenever you watch this video, if you're listening on demand. And please do let us know. It's been great hearing some people who have messaged us saying, hey, we'd love for you to talk about this subject, this question. This is us just kind of peeling back the layers and just kind of being real and being raw with you about our lives and our struggles. and our journey through life. We'd love to hear from you. Do continue putting your comments in the chat feed about how you are overcoming, mental health and anxiety and those struggles, tools that you've learned along the way. And as Laura said at the beginning, we don't claim to be professionals at all. So, if this is a major issue for you, we would really encourage you to be seeking out professional help. And of course, do feel free to reach out, to message the office, and we'd love to be able to, as a church ministry, be able to pray for you, because we really believe in the power of prayer, and that can make a significant difference. Well, we're going to be, there's going to be a program next Wednesday. Do you know what's happening next Wednesday, Laura? I'm testing that here. It's not us. No. So it's Paul and Wynell.
Oh, it's missional
lifestyle. And so Paul and Wynell are going to be on next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So do tune in for that. And that's going to be really, really inspiring. So we're really looking forward to watching that. Well, God bless you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. God bless.